A boy is running desperately through the forest, with countless wild wolves by his side, racing to escape. As Mowgli looks back, it looks like something huge is chasing them. Seeing no advantage on the ground, Mowgli quickly climbs a tall tree. His agility is unmatched as he effortlessly maneuvers between branches. However, in the midst of Mowgli's sprint, a branch beneath his feet snaps, and he tumbles to the ground. Before Mowgli can regain his footing and escape again, a black panther leaps towards him. Surprisingly, the panther doesn't harm Mowgli. It's a test. The panther is Mowgli's forest teacher. Years ago, the panther found an abandoned human infant in the forest. In order to keep Mowgli alive, the panther entrusted him to the wolves. Though he looked different from the other cubs, the pups thought of Mowgli as their brother. As time passed, from season to season, the annual dry spell arrived. This year marked the driest in history. All animals converged at Peace Rock, the last water source in the forest. According to ancient agreements, when Peace Rock emerges during drought, all animals observe a truce since nothing is more crucial than water. Naturally, Mowgli accompanied the wolf pack here. It was his first encounter with such a multitude of creatures. In the days that followed, Mowgli showcased his uniqueness. He was the only one using tools to drink water. Every animal's gaze fixed on Mowgli, curious and intrigued.
Weird. That's weird.
The leader of the pack called out to Mowgli. If Mowgli wants to be part of the forest, he must give up his human ways. But at that moment, a warning came from the birds in the sky. All animals fell silent. The wolf leader hurriedly sheltered Mowgli behind him. Shortly thereafter, the forest's king, the tiger, arrived. Although the truce was in effect, all the animals fearfully gave way to a clearing. Just after the tiger finished drinking water, it caught a whiff of a human scent in the vicinity. The wolf king hurriedly stated, "Mowgli now belongs to the wolf pack." Unexpectedly, upon hearing this, the tiger grew even angrier because the scars on its face were inflicted by humans. So the tiger immediately invoked the law of the forest. Mowgli would inevitably grow up to become a human one day, but humans were forbidden within the forest. However, the wolf pack showed no fear in the face of the tiger's fury. The tiger often hunted for amusement and orchestrated killings for power's sake. The tiger had no right to discuss the laws of the jungle whatsoever. Although the tiger is now furious, it doesn't dare to start a war during the dry water truce, or it will be attacked by all the animals. Nevertheless, the tiger soon issued a fierce ultimatum. If the wolf pack still wishes to protect Mowgli at that time, they must contemplate the cost in lives. After the tiger departed, all the animals dispersed swiftly, and the tiger's words swiftly came to fruition. Soon after, the rainy season commenced, with the river waters gradually converging. The flat rock was on the verge of being submerged by the rain once again. Facing the threat of the king of all beasts, the wolf pack began deliberating how to weather this crisis. Observing his fellow pack members embroiled in discord because of him, Mowgli ultimately reached a decision. He would depart the wolf pack before the tiger's arrival. By doing so, he could shield his kin from harm. At this juncture, the Black Panther also emerged. Mowgli's leaving now is the only way to protect the pack. Despite his mother's reluctance, she comprehended that only by Mowgli returning to the world of humans could true safety be assured. Hence, following his farewell to the wolf pack, Mowgli embarked on a journey with the Black Panther. The path out of the forest was treacherous and protracted. The Black Panther would directly guide Mowgli to a human village. However, Mowgli was entirely unfamiliar with humans. Moreover, the wolf pack had consistently warned him against venturing close to human settlements due to the inherent danger. Just as they are about to come out of the forest, they come across elephants, the guardians of the forest. Immediately, the panther makes Mowgli bow down in their honor. Legend had it that the elephants created this forest. The trenches they dug with their tusks eventually turned into rivers. They blow with their noses, and the leaves fall. Everything within the forest was their creation, except humans. So it was time for Mowgli to leave the forest. Continuing their journey, the Black Panther and Mowgli soon reached a grassland. But then the panther suddenly senses danger. In the next second, the tiger launched a surprise attack. Fortunately, the Black Panther intervened just in time to block the tiger's assault. Mowgli wasted no time and fled. As their battle escalated, even the nearby water buffaloes became startled. Under the tiger's attack, the panther was no match for the tiger. The tiger swiftly knocked down the Black Panther. It then turned its focus toward Mowgli and began chasing him. As the tiger closed in on Mowgli, a stampede of frenzied buffaloes unexpectedly surged forward. The tiger was thrown aside by the impact, and Mowgli took the chance to jump down a slope. But the rainy season has just begun, and there is no water in the river. The stampeding buffaloes rushed into the riverbed, and Mowgli had no choice but to desperately evade within the midst of the herd. But the tiger caught up once more. Mowgli, watching the tiger, knew that it would surely kill him. In the face of life and death, Mowgli leapt up with all his strength and grabbed the buffalo's horns. Watching Mowgli escape in this manner, the tiger could only unleash a furious roar of frustration. After losing track of Mowgli, the tiger enters the territory of the wolves. Seeing the tiger's aggressive behavior, the wolves surrounded the tiger. The tiger first pretended to give in. When the Wolf King relaxed his guard, the tiger took the opportunity to attack. With their leader gone, the remaining wolf pack no longer possessed the valor to challenge the tiger. Subsequently, the tiger would claim this territory as its own. The tiger believed that once Mowgli heard of these events, he would inevitably return for vengeance. Meanwhile, Mowgli continued to follow the herd of buffalo along the riverbank, but as the rain got heavier and heavier, a mudslide suddenly appeared on the road ahead. With no way back, Mowgli swiftly leaped off the buffalo's back and tumbled until he finally plunged into the river. Eventually, Mowgli managed to find a withered tree branch and began drifting along with the river's current. By nightfall, carried by the branch, he arrived in an unfamiliar swamp. Strangely, an eerie silence enveloped the surroundings, and as Mowgli explored, he soon made a discovery on the ground. Mowgli found an oversized snake's skin on the ground. He immediately picked it up and examined it. It was like nothing Mowgli had ever seen before. He couldn't fathom the size of the python that shed the skin. Setting the skin aside, Mowgli pressed on to explore the unfamiliar forest. But as Mowgli continues, his surroundings begin to grow darker and more eerie. Unbeknownst to Mowgli, he had unintentionally wandered into the territory of the giant python. While Mowgli scanned his surroundings, he finally caught sight of a figure slowly approaching him. It was an immensely massive python. Its voice held an enchanting power, as it claimed it could be Mowgli's friend. Despite growing up in the forest, Mowgli had never encountered a python before. He sensed an unknown fear emanating from the python. The python deceived Mowgli, asserting that it was a sorcerer of the forest. Naively, Mowgli locked his gaze onto the python's eyes. As their eyes met, Mowgli's thoughts began to blur. Seizing the opportunity, the python stealthily approached Mowgli. At this moment, Mowgli truly glimpsed his origins within the python's eyes. It turned out that when Mowgli was an infant, his father had brought him into the forest for a journey. One night, they found shelter in a cave. Unexpectedly, a tiger attacked them. Mowgli's father fought valiantly with a torch to protect his child. Yet, humans were no match for a tiger. In the end, Mowgli's father was brutally killed, but not before scorching the tiger's eye with fire. Terrified, the tiger fled. Mowgli escaped with his life. Mowgli emerged from the cave alone, and in the next moment, a black panther emerged from the forest, slowly approaching Mowgli. The panther, to his surprise, didn't evoke fear in him. Instead, Mowgli extended his hand to pet the panther, and the panther was so kind that he finally entrusted Mowgli to the wolves, and the panther became Mowgli's forest teacher. Finally, Mowgli comprehended his origins, but in a trance, the python had already wrapped itself around Mowgli's body. Just as the python was about to devour him, an unexpected figure launched an attack on it. The python released Mowgli and turned to face its assailant, a massive brown bear. As the two creatures engaged in battle before him, Mowgli's strength waned, and he soon lost consciousness. When Mowgli woke up again, the bear was sniffing at him. Mowgli let out a scream of fear, but the bear meant him no harm. It had actually saved him from the python's clutches. The bear, however, wasn't offering help for free. It was now time for Mowgli to repay the favor. The bear led Mowgli out of the cave and to a cliff's edge. It turns out that the bears like to eat honey, but the hive is at the top of the cliff. Understanding the situation, Mowgli declined to help. He knew he'd be stung to death by the bees if he attempted to harvest honey from the hive. Seeing that Mowgli wouldn't help, the bear used a trick. It claimed that if it couldn't store enough honey for the winter during the summer, it would starve during hibernation. Mowgli looked at the bear's pitiful face and reluctantly agreed. He ascended the cliff, using vines to secure himself. Slowly descending from the top, he reached the hive's location. He took a stick in his hand and struck it against the hive. But because Mowgli's strength is so small, the hive doesn't change at all, and as the bees started to fight back, Mowgli dropped his tool in pain. But Mowgli didn't give up. He firmly clung to the vine, then used his entire body's strength to pound the hive. With each forceful leap, the impact finally dislodged a substantial piece of honey. The bear immediately pounced on it, relishing the feast. It had never tasted so much honey before. Even the honey that splattered on a passing porcupine didn't go to waste. When Mowgli returned to the ground, his body bore countless red marks from bee stings. The bear hastily apologized, explaining that only queen bees stung like that. A squirrel on the ground offered honey, which, when applied to the wounds, quickly alleviated the pain. With his debt repaid, Mowgli was ready to leave, but then the bear followed him again. Learning of Mowgli's intention to reach the human village, it offered to accompany him part of the way, and so, one man and one bear set off again. As they progressed, night fell. A tired Mowgli was already sitting on the bear's back, and at this moment, they finally caught sight of the human village, where red flowers bloomed aplenty. These flowers could bring warmth but also wreak destruction. But as Mowgli stood on the brink of returning home, he hesitated. He had no memory of human villages. He'd lived with the wolves for as long as he could remember, and never thought he'd leave the forest one day. And the bear could see the hesitation in Mowgli's eyes. So with a little persuasion from the bear, Mowgli decided to stay in the forest for a while. Mowgli began collecting vines within the forest, binding them together with twigs to fashion a simple swing. Then Mowgli found some palm leaves. He cuts the leaves with a stone, then sharpens the stalks into sharp knives, and a simple spear appears. He undertook these efforts to help his dear friend collect honey. He protects himself with leaves. With the makeshift spear, Mowgli soon succeeded in harvesting a substantial chunk of honey. This method allowed the brown bear to collect enough food for the upcoming winter. Delighted, they frolicked together in the water. Yet, at this juncture, rustling emerged from the thicket on the shore. Swift to react, the brown bear had Mowgli climb onto its back, ready to confront whatever approached. To their surprise, it was the black panther emerging from the undergrowth. Mowgli saw it and jumped on it immediately. Mowgli thought the panther might have been injured when he faced the tiger. He led the panther to his resting spot, proudly showcasing the various tools he had crafted and the cave full of honey he had gathered for the bear. Upon seeing Mowgli's masterpiece, the panther erupted in anger for the first time. It turns out that bears in the forest don't hibernate at all, and Mowgli's use of human methods to collect the honey has seriously disrupted the order of the forest. Enraged, the panther decided to send Mowgli back to the human village early the next morning. As evening fell, Mowgli was abruptly awakened by an odd sound. Curious, he dashed outside to investigate. To his surprise, a group of elephants had gathered, emitting mournful cries. Eager to understand, Mowgli moved closer to observe. But, as the elephants perceived his intentions, they responded with angry roars. Mowgli then remembers the panther's teachings, so he bends down and bows his head in respect. This gesture managed to quell the elephant's fury. Soon, Mowgli successfully entered the midst of the elephant group. To his astonishment, he discovered that a young elephant had accidentally fallen into a trap. Mowgli immediately ran back to his cave and took out the vines he had been using to collect honey. Returning to the elephants, he employed human methods to rescue the young elephant from the pitfall. The panther sees what's happening here. Seeing Mowgli and the young elephant standing together, the black panther began to question whether it had been too harsh on Mowgli, and then the brown bear said to the panther that perhaps the forest would be a better place for Mowgli. The panther tells the bear that the tiger has killed the wolf king in pursuit of Mowgli. Mowgli's presence in the forest had now become even more perilous. Understanding Mowgli's predicament, the brown bear recognized that safety could only be found for him in the human village. Thus, the brown bear located Mowgli and, in a bid to prompt his departure, uttered some hurtful words.
And I don't really need you anymore, but no, we were never friends. I certainly never thought of you as my friend.
The bear's words succeeded in driving Mowgli away. Up in a tree, Mowgli simmered with anger. Just then, a monkey suddenly appeared. Before Mowgli could shoo the monkey away in his irritation, the monkey unexpectedly grabbed him from behind. Before Mowgli could react, swiftly, with the help of countless monkeys, Mowgli was swiftly carried away. Mowgli's screams swiftly alerted the Black Panther. When the Black Panther also chased under the tree trunk, it could only watch as Mowgli was captured by the monkeys. Soon, the group of monkeys carried Mowgli up a steep cliff. Once at the top, Mowgli caught sight of a massive castle that lay before him. The monkeys guided him deeper into the palace. Upon reaching the innermost chamber of the palace, a gigantic hand suddenly reached out from behind Mowgli. This hand belonged to the ruler of the palace and the king of all monkeys and apes. This colossal ape had brought Mowgli here for a trade. It knew that Mowgli desired to stay in the forest, especially now that he was being hunted by the tiger. In the whole forest, only the great apes can offer Mowgli shelter, and in exchange Mowgli needs to bring the great ape the red flower. The great ape possessed ample food, boundless wealth, and could even command a vast army. If Great Ape gained access to human fire, great ape could truly rule the entire forest. However, despite being a human, Mowgli had grown up among wolves and knew nothing about creating red flowers. Seeing that Mowgli didn't give him the answer he wanted, the ape's heart immediately began to burn with anger. Fortunately, a massive figure arrived just in time. It turns out that in order to save Mowgli, Brown Bear and Black Panther also tracked all the way here. Seeing Mowgli in danger, the Brown Bear acted swiftly. The Brown Bear began praising the Ape King, diverting the attention of the monkeys. Seizing the opportunity, the Black Panther discreetly approached the rear of the palace. Yet, as the Black Panther attempted to extract Mowgli from the situation, a monkey spotted their actions. As the monkey screamed, Mowgli immediately ran outside, but the great ape had already realized their intention, and with its command, all the monkeys chased after them frantically. After that, the great ape stood up with great difficulty, and now it was going to pursue Mowgli in person. Outside the palace, observing the encroaching monkey horde, the Brown Bear and the Black Panther urged Mowgli to escape. The bears and panthers stayed behind to stop the enemy. A chaotic battle ensued between the two sides. As the great ape burst from the palace, it unleashed a furious roar. Fortunately, the great ape didn't attack the panther or the bear. Its primary goal was to catch Mowgli. The great ape quickly closed in on Mowgli. Seeing the approaching great ape, Mowgli hastily explained that he needed to return to the wolf pack, where the wolf leader could offer him protection. However, the great ape informed Mowgli that the wolf leader had already been killed by the tiger. This shocking news left Mowgli in disbelief, and he immediately turned and fled into the palace. The great ape pursued Mowgli into the palace, its massive size causing chaos as it charged through the halls. Meanwhile, the Black Panther and the Brown Bear were besieged by the monkey horde outside the palace. Seeing the relentless advance of the enemies, the Brown Bear couldn't hold back any longer and roared loudly. Inside the palace, Mowgli was hiding behind a pillar, but as the great ape searched for Mowgli, it soon found him. Mowgli immediately turned around and ran away. However, the great ape was now in a frenzy, and it began to move quickly and recklessly. The pillars supporting the palace were immediately destroyed by the great ape. Just as Mowgli jumped out of the palace, the great ape's palm also grabbed out. However, the palace, weakened by the great ape's rampage, gave way, collapsing entirely. When the monkeys saw this, they couldn't care less about the panther. The monkeys rushed to the ruins to rescue the king. The Black Panther and the Brown Bear took advantage of the chaos to make their escape. Although Mowgli managed to escape, he found no joy in it. Learning of the wolf leader's death, the one who had always sheltered him, made Mowgli realize he had to take action. Quietly, he made his way to the human village, where he indeed found the red flowers he sought. Knowing that only fire could defeat the tiger, Mowgli took a torch used for illumination from the village entrance when no one was watching. With the torch in hand, Mowgli raced back to the forest, determined to settle the score with the tiger, but Mowgli accidentally dropped the fire on the grass as he was running fast. The news of the return of the red flowers spread quickly through the forest. Carried by the birds, the animals were so frightened that they all fled towards the river. Soon, all the animals had gathered at Peace Rock. At this moment, Mowgli arrived with the torch in hand.
Dear God, I'm not afraid of you.
I think they're afraid of something else.
No one has to be afraid of you anymore.
As he looked back, he saw the forest he had passed through now ablaze. The animals around him retreated in fear upon seeing the torch. The tiger took advantage of this opportunity to sow discord, claiming to have foreseen Mowgli's future. It warned that if Mowgli used fire against it now, he would eventually use fire to destroy the entire forest. Mowgli fell for the tiger's taunts and threw the torch away, believing its words. The tiger laughed in triumph. With the threat of fire gone, Mowgli was no longer a match for the tiger. The tiger was about to attack Mowgli. At that moment, the Brown Bear and the Black Panther came out from behind Mowgli, and as they recited the law of the forest, the wolves soon came up behind Mowgli. Seeing that they were ignoring his authority, the angry tiger attacked. The Brown Bear meets it. The two behemoths are at war. Despite its massive size, the Brown Bear was outmatched by the tiger's razor-sharp claws and its experienced combat skills. Under the tiger's successive attacks, the bear was quickly knocked to the ground. The tiger opened its jaws wide, ready to deliver the final blow. Just as the Brown Bear was about to be in grave danger, the wolves around him attacked. Mowgli intended to join them, but the Black Panther stopped him, reminding him that he wasn't a wolf. It urged Mowgli to consider how humans would handle the situation. Mowgli realized the truth and immediately sprinted toward the burning forest. The wolf pack, however, proved no match for the tiger. It swiftly defeated them, and when it saw Mowgli fleeing, it abandoned the wolf pack and pursued him. The Black Panther intervened, tackling the tiger to the ground. The panther now has to buy enough time for Mowgli to escape, but against the tiger's retaliation, the Black Panther was quickly overpowered and knocked down. As the tiger prepared to deliver the final blow to the Black Panther, the wolf pack regrouped and launched another attack. The tiger could not do anything about the wolves, so he shook the wolves away and chased after Mowgli without looking back. Meanwhile, deep within the forest, Mowgli didn't choose to run away. He was going to set up traps by human means, prepare for a fight to the death with the tiger. When the tiger also rushed into the forest, it immediately started to climb towards the tree where Mowgli was hiding. Seeing this, Mowgli quickly moved to another large tree using the branches. As the tiger attempted to follow, it realized that the thin branches couldn't bear its weight. It was forced to return to the ground. Meanwhile, Mowgli had already reached the pre-selected dead tree, ready to set up a trap for the tiger. Once everything was in place, Mowgli cautiously took cover within the trunk of the tree. Unexpectedly, the tiger managed to climb back up and ambush Mowgli, injuring him in the process, but its size prevented it from entering the tree trunk. Seizing the opportunity, Mowgli returned to the trap he had prepared. When the tiger saw Mowgli's figure, it quickly blocked behind Mowgli. Cornered, Mowgli had nowhere to go, either be killed by the tiger or fall into the flames. The tiger would never allow Mowgli to grow up and become a threat. Seeing that Mowgli was within its reach, the tiger leaped at him. Mowgli was prepared. He jumped onto a pre-tied vine. The tiger arrived where Mowgli had been standing, only to find the tree trunk beneath it was actually a rotten log. As the log broke, the tiger plummeted down and ultimately met its end in the red flames. With the tiger finally defeated, Mowgli felt no joy. His beloved forest was now consumed by the raging fire. Feeling a sense of loss, Mowgli prepared to return to the wolf pack. Along the way, he encountered a group of elephants. Mowgli bows his head in respect, knowing that elephants are the guardians of the forest. The elephants then worked together to push down trees and block the river's path, redirecting the water's flow. Then the elephants used their tusks to dig a new trench in the ground. The rushing water extinguished the forest fire, and tranquility was gradually restored to the forest. At the end of the story, Mowgli returns to the wolves. He didn't choose to go to the human village, because here, not only did he have the forest he loved, but also his family and friends who cared for and looked after him, and Mowgli will always be with them.